Class, today we'll be learning about collective bargaining. It's a term which, which has its origin in the 18th century. This term was coined by Sidney and Beatrice Webb in 1891. And this concept is actually settlement of industrial disputes through discussion and negotiation. The other day we had learned about different types of settlement of industrial dispute, and this is a bit different from the other forms of settlement. That is why I have devoted a special class for collective bargaining. And it is a process in which the representative of both the labor organization and the business organization or the management, they try to come to terms, or they try to negotiate so that they don't go in for other modes of settlement. And collective bargaining ensures that the workers achieve a workplace democracy. There are a few definitions that I would like to tell. First one was a definition which was given by Floppo. It says, collective bargaining is a process in which the representatives of a labor organization and the representative of business organization meet and attempt to negotiate a contract agreement which specifies the nature of employee-employer union relationship. So in this definition itself, we can say that both the representatives are there and they are trying to come together and negotiate so that there is a good relationship between the two. Another definition by ILO manual in 1960, which says collective bargaining is a negotiation about working conditions and terms of employment between an employer, a group of employees, or one or more employer organization on the other with a view to reach an agreement. And collective bargaining involves a lot of process. First one is drafting, second administration, third negotiation, then comes the organizational trade union which tries to bring both these parties together, and the interpretation of documents written by the employer as employees and union representatives. Then objectives of collective bargaining. Its objective is to maintain an employer-employee relation, which is a bilateral relation, and that has to be maintained so that the industry goes on. To have a peaceful coexistence for the mutual benefit and progress, to arrive at an agreement on wages and other conditions of employment, arrive at an amicable agreement through a process of give and take, carry out negotiation voluntarily without interference from a third party, and protect the interests of workers through collective action. So these are the few objectives. Basically, it is a bilateral relation between the employer-employee so that they have a peaceful coexistence, and this is done basically for the wages and other conditions of workers, and they arrive at a mutual agreement so that both of them there is a give and take. Both of them have to give something and they have to accept other things. This happens because there should be a wonderful relation in the industrial sector. And these are the characteristics of collective bargaining according to the definition and the objectives that we had mentioned now. First thing, it is a collective effort. It's a collective effort from both the parties, from both the management and the employees. It is a strength for both of them. If they could solve their problem among themselves without the third party intervention, that's the best thing. And voluntarily, they both come together voluntarily to settle their disputes. This is a very flexible procedure. Collective bargaining is flexible as both of them, as I said earlier, have to give and take. Next is there is always a scope of improvement. Improvement from both the sides. It is representational. Why? Because both the parties are involved. Nobody is left out. Both the disputing parties are there. It is a very continuous process. It is not something which happens one fine day, but it is a very continuous process. It happens every time. It is a bipartite process, which I had mentioned earlier itself, because both the parties are involved. Then the prerequisites of collective bargaining. In order to have a successful collective bargaining, we should have a strong, independent, and well organized union. If the union is very strong, then they can definitely go in for collective bargaining. Recognition of union as a bargaining agent. The employer has to recognize them as a bargaining agent. Willingness to give and take. A favorable political climate is needed for this. Mutual trust and good faith in each other. A problem solving approach rather than a firefighting approach should be adopted. These are the different types of collective bargaining. Distributive bargaining, integrative bargaining, productivity bargaining, composite bargaining, and concessionary bargaining. Distributive bargaining. Distributive bargaining is defined as a negotiation process which one party benefits at the cost of the other. This usually refers to the redistribution of income in the form of higher wages or higher bonuses. So, the stronger the trade union, the more powerful they are to win in an collective bargaining. Next is integrative bargaining. Integrative bargaining is whereby both sides aim to benefit in what is seen as a win-win bargaining. Both parties may bring together a list of demands by which an agreement is reached that benefits both the parties. Whatever their demands are, they have to give and take, but they try to profit, both of them try to bring in maximum profit for themselves. Next is productivity bargaining. Productivity bargaining involves both parties negotiating around productivity and pay. So it's basically for the productivity and pay. So unions may suggest that higher salaries would boost productivity. The next one is composite bargaining. Composite bargaining refers to a negotiation that focuses on a number of elements that are not related to pay. Here, pay is not important, but other factors are important. They are generally related to employee welfare and job security. For instance, it covers factors such as working condition, policies, recruitment, and disciplinary processes. The aim of this type of bargaining is to ensure a mutually beneficial long-term relationship between the employer and employee. Concessionary bargaining. Concessionary bargaining is based on unions giving back previous benefits to the employer, for which, for instance, trade unions may agree to lower wages in return for job security. This usually happens during economic crises. So the process of collective bargaining, if you see, it involves it is a 5-stage process. So there's preparation of negotiation. Before, when there is a small difference, they try to prepare. Both the parties try to prepare. Then they keep a proposal of key demands. What are the demands of the manager? What are the demands of the employees? These are the proposal that they put forward. Then they sit together. It doesn't happen just in one day's time. It may happen in one day time, but it takes a longer duration. They may sit for 2-3 sessions and then they come up with a solution. And the fourth is the agreement. They come to a mutual agreement, like their demands, few of their demands may be met, few of their demands they have to give up. So fourth one is the agreement, and last one is the administration of the agreement. Whatever agreement was reached on paper should be put it into practice in the last stage. So this is a process that you can see. There is preparation of negotiation, proposal of key demands, negotiation that happens between the two, and the agreement which is written on paper, and the last but not the least is the administering of this agreement. There are few advantages. The advantages and disadvantages are almost a flip side, means of resolving differences between the management and employee without a third party involvement. That's a major advantage, that they are not trying to involve another person to solve their problems, but they are sitting together to solve their own problem. It settles issues with dialogues and concession rather than conflict and confrontation. Next, it's a solution based on voluntary negotiation. It prevents employees from going on strike. Disadvantage, it takes a long period of time. As I said, they need a lot of sessions to clear out all their problems. So it's a long process. It can widen the gap between the employer and employee. Sometimes it leads to other conflicts. If it is not settled here, they go in for other modes of conflict. Some may benefit at the cost of the other. It is always prone to inequality at some stage at least. And so this was collective bargaining. We know that was a concept which was put forward by Sidney and Beatrice Webb in 1891, and we learned about the process. There are 5 processes. We learned about the advantage and disadvantage. Thank you.